So every single Passover for the last few years, there's been a question that's been itching me at the back of my head, but I haven't really fully expressed it until recently. And it's a question that actually, if you think about it, should bother most people when they read the Exodus narrative in the Bible. And it's the question of, what on earth is going on when the Jewish people, the former slaves, complain to Moses, complain to God, and they say, you know what, this whole thing, it would have been much better if we just remained slaves in Egypt, because at least we had food, shelter, at least there was some level of security. And you read it and you think, what? You had the most backbreaking labor, you were experiencing a genocide among the Jewish baby boys. How can you possibly say that? And I've been struggling to make sense of this question. Maybe a year or two ago, I spoke to a rabbi and I was telling him about my religious journey, and I said to him, I feel like I'm taking on more Jewish practice and observance, and I feel like I'm doing this because I want to better my relationship with God, but I really would just like to know for sure that I'm safe with God, and that my relationship with Him is secure, and that I'm really, I'm doing the right thing and I'm doing enough. I just want that safety, I want that security of that knowledge. And he said to me, no you don't. I said, well, I think I do. He said, no you don't. I said, well, what do I want then? And he said, Ollie, you don't want security in your relationship. You want closeness. Unconditional love, security, knowing your relationship with something or someone is totally secure, is a very low-level relationship. If someone gives you unconditional love, no matter what you do, what if you become really terrible to the person and they give you unconditional love? Love is only meaningful when you enter the danger zone, the risk zone of where your actions actually matter, and there's the possibility that things you do will affect the relationship. It's only meaningful that way. If you know for certain that your relationship is secure, that no matter what happens, no matter what you do, there's going to be unconditional love, then that relationship can only mean so much. The rabbi said to me, Ollie, of course there's a deep drive within us to want security in all walks of life, but real meaningful relationships, a real meaningful life, is when you enter the arena of your actions meaning something. This applies to politics as well. It's so much easier for politicians to want to promise people security. I'll give you more of this, I'll give you more of that, because it taps into the natural human urge to want security. It's much more difficult for politicians to say to people, actually, I'm not going to give you everything you've asked for. I think that there should be a degree of risk in society, because that also means that people have the ability to achieve great things and succeed, and that our actions can really make a difference to our life. Thomas Jefferson, one of the founders of America, said, I would prefer dangerous freedom to peaceful slavery. There's a deep human urge, and it's natural, and to some extent it's totally legitimate, to want a certain level of security in our lives. And that, I think, is what's going on. When the Jews said, when they're in the desert, at least we had the daily security of food and shelter in Egypt, whereas now they were suddenly leaving that behind and trusting in God as they went into the desert and didn't know what's going to be in terms of where they end up, where they live, where they settle. And two of the big Jewish festivals in the year, I think, tap into these two basic human needs. For Passover, it's food, and for Sukkot, it's security, it's our shelter. We're tapping into those two areas where human beings really need security. And I think what we're being taught is that it's totally legitimate to want these things, to need these things, but actually for a meaningful life, we have to detach ourselves slightly from that desire for security and enter the realm of freedom. And ultimately, I think the message of these festivals, including Passover, is that even if we want to live in that world and that mindset of security and comfort, not only is it a facade, but the only real meaningful way in which we can feel that security is by entering that world of risk, that world of freedom, that world of relationship, of trusting in God that He will be our provider, and not relying on man, on economic systems, on all these kinds of things. In the Jewish view, freedom from slavery means the ability to step out of a system in which you are totally controlled by someone else, and you have that regularity of that at least, and to enter a world of risk, of not knowing where things will end up, but knowing that your actions count and that according to your effort is the reward. Slavery is where you cannot earn the fruits of your labours. Freedom is where you can earn the fruits of your labours. To be free in Judaism is to be able to chart your own destiny, to make your own self, not to be in control of whatever's going to happen to you because we don't know what's going to happen to us, but to be able to control how you respond to things and in that way pave your own destiny. From all of us at JTV, we wish you a happy, a healthy and a meaningful Passover and a year in which you have the freedom to become your best self. I'm OLLIE and you're watching JTV.
To stay up to date with JTV content, click subscribe here if you're on YouTube and hit the alarm bell. And if you're on Facebook, hit the like button and under following, click see first. If you enjoy watching JTV content and want to help us continue to grow, please consider making a donation to us by clicking here.